And welcome to another episode of Who Gives a Hoot. I'm Luke. That's Kyle. We are two members of Who Gives a Hoot. And we took a bye week like our team did. Except your data dive dropped. So,
oh yeah, it was a little later than I had hoped, but it happened.
Hey, I mean, sometimes coming up from the depths of the data ocean takes you a little bit longer.
Yeah.
No, glad you didn't get the bends, but
yeah, but it was really interesting to kind of see even just a few games in here, because when I did it at 5 games, even though we've played another now, but seeing how it really shows in the stats, just how different it is.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the stats show more than what we're seeing just off the field itself. And the field itself looks very different, which
the fact that we had more passes, just total passes, than anyone who had played a game more than us.
Yeah.
We had an extra game's worth of passes.
Like our possession stats are up there. Like we're a very different team, which I think helped us against Richmond in a lot of ways. Like that ended with a scoreless draw, but we looked good against Richmond, honestly.
Yeah, we still need to work on some set piece defending, because I mean, they are pretty good at set pieces too. That's what they're known for, but one of the things. But we did get burned on that a little bit against Hailstorm, and then almost, if not for some clutch saves at the end there.
Yeah. So just to jump into the news there, Rashid gets Team of the Week bench honors, as well as Save of the Week for, what was that, week 8?
Yes, week 8.
Yeah. The team has been out in the community. They were at the Cinco de Mayo parade, South Omaha, which looks like that was a fun time. And today, we're recording this on Wednesday. Apparently, they had a treetop adventure over at Fontanelle Forest.
Oh, I had not seen that.
Yep. They're doing some team building exercises, which honestly, I think they kind of need.
I mean, especially in a style like we're playing, right, where you need to be really well versed in who you're playing with, right? Any team building is going to be helpful.
Now, and with the recent, like, we're what, 6 games in now?
Depends which team you ask, but yeah.
6 games in with 2 Open Cup games in there. We haven't had a defining moment. Last year's team really came together during the Open Cup run.
Big moments against Chicago, big moments against Minnesota, all about this point in the season.
Yeah, and the year before, that's where we were really hitting our hot streak. But you had more personality players 2 years ago, like with Greg, with Devin, Evan, guys that seemed to me bring a lot of locker room energy.
I mean, and they had most of them had a year together already at that point too.
Yeah.
So.
And a very tough year with the pandemic. This team, a lot of these guys came in late. Dom obviously was a relatively late signing as head coach. So there's a lot of connection building, and so I'm happy to see that they're doing some of these team building exercises off the pitch. Ways to really start relying on each other in more than just 90 minutes on the field, more than just in practice. So definite positivity. It's not a Ted Lasso take him to the sewer moment quite, but it's pretty. It's good to see the team looking for alternatives and finding opportunities within the community to not only support local attractions but also further their own chemistry.
Yeah, I mean that was something that just to mention, because due to COVID, couldn't really do all that often much in the past. So it's nice that they're finding those opportunities now and hopefully being in the community a bit more, because that was one of the things I know that we'd really wanted but understood the difficulty of. So
yeah, and I think this is the first year where there's been no COVID testing whatsoever. Even beginning of last season, there was some still going on. So really the first full season of being able to do anything. But let's do a brief recap of the 0-0 draw in Richmond.
Well, I mean, I think one of the big things to note from that is actually our other person who was on the team of the week on the bench from that game, Luca Mastrantonio, getting his first start for us.
Yeah, and honestly, you mentioned defense isn't like the set pieces need some work. Set piece defending needs some work, but the way Shaft was playing in that game, the way Luca was playing in that game, even Marco, not leaving Lexi out, but I don't think that was his best performance. But the other three defenders were really showing why they should be starters, and it was very enjoyable to watch. Shouldn't be enjoyable to watch your own defense, but it was definitely a very positive step in the right direction as far as the makeup of the team, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, because I know that Junior not playing, or at least not starting, was probably due to something we had talked about before, which was yellow card issues. Might be. We're just speculating, right? Because he had 3 yellow cards in 5 games up to that point. So don't know.
Also, his defending, it leaves something to be desired in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like he definitely brings a passion and he brings an energy, and having that even as a substitute is great. But I think Luca did come in expecting to at least be fighting for that starting spot, if not winning that starting spot. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see at least an off and on maybe for a little bit.
Yeah, and I definitely felt like Luca kind of calmed down the defense a bit. Richmond is a strong team. They're under their 3rd year with Darren Sawatsky. Still have Terzaghi. Like they brought in some additional attacking pieces. Like we looked more composed back there than I would have necessarily thought, having had a rotated lineup, no Miller, no Junior. So that was comforting to see out of that game. Rashid made some huge saves. We had 0 shots on target, but we had a fair number of shots.
Well, that seems to be a theme as well. That was the other thing that I had found, right? Our conversion rate is not great.
No.
Take a lot of shots.
A lot of shots.
It's not great.
Well, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
Looking briefly at the Thought Mob rankings, this I think was Noe's lowest rated game.
I could see that. And
I honestly don't think it was because Noe was playing badly, but I think Noe was just being so heavily marked. He was getting shut down before he could become any sort of threat.
Because if I go back to look at this, I guess you have the stats up. What was the
Uh,
possession there?
I had the stats up.
Oh, you had it. Sorry.
I was looking more individually at players than
because it's something that I should actually I have it here, which is that I believe. Speaking of possession, it was our lowest possession game so far this year.
which makes sense against a team like Richmond, who and our counters were not convincing. Richmond was countering much better. We didn't control the midfield.
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the things, right? And if as far as like Noe goes too, right? He maybe didn't have just a bad game himself, but if you're not giving him opportunities, then it's hard to do anything. So
service wasn't necessarily there for him. Dos Santos getting the start again. He played better.
Yeah.
But still not convincing.
I would agree.
I don't really know what more to say about him.
Love him as a sub. Love him as a sub option.
Yeah. But I don't think he's fast enough to be a 60-minute, 90-minute player.
Not when we're trying to play as we're trying to play.
Yeah.
At least.
All right. Since we have no goals to talk about, no real exciting highlights except Rashid's beautiful punch over the bar.
Multiple saves at the end, yeah.
Which go check out the highlights on those. They are well worth watching, showing yet again why Rashid is the best keeper in the league. But we've got 3 games coming up in the next 10 days.
Yeah. 8 days technically. Yeah.
Wednesday. We've got Saturday, Wednesday, Friday.
No, Saturday. Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday.
Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. And against 3 perennial tough teams for us. Starting with Chattanooga, going to Greenville for a midweek belt game, and
they're coming here.
Okay, yeah.
But yes, midweek belt game. But at least they're coming here, so that when we play here on Saturday, we're not as tired from travel. Yeah. Hopefully,
and we play Madison on that Saturday. In a turn of events, Chattanooga's kind of sucked this year.
Yeah, Chattanooga's not been great.
Greenville's kind of sucked this year.
They're off and on, but yeah.
Yeah. They've had a few more recent ones, but they started off the season real poor.
I don't think. Oh, they just drew their first game, because otherwise I'm like, oh, they've only won or lost games, but they've now just drawn a game.
So Chattanooga has lost their last 2. They just played Tuesday night against Knoxville. That was a storm delay game. So that kicked off 2 hours later than it was supposed to.
They're mixed at home this year.
Yeah.
Not to say that every team isn't, but 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. So
yeah, it'll be an interesting one. They managed to score nothing against Knoxville, and Knoxville to me hasn't looked that defensive overall.
No, and I think when I was looking at the stats, it kind of seemed like that as well, because they play, I don't want to say a similar style to us, but a style that is like more offensive. If you let in goals, that's fine. We're going to try and score. They also foul the crap out of people, but similar-ish in style, but a bit different.
They brought G on. Of course they're going to foul. I like our chances against Chattanooga. At Chattanooga is a very tough environment. I've been down there a few times. Like
we've only won there once.
We've only won there once. It's a good field. As we've heard before, it's very tough to take a hit on because you go down, there's not a lot of padding, leading to contusions, might slow some guys down.
Mm-hmm.
If they pack that, which the announcement of their Super League team, might garnish a little bit more interest from the broader community.
Yeah, that's a question. We'll see, but yeah.
So,
I mean, have they finished the stadium yet, though?
That stadium will never be finished. It's supposed to be part of like a shopping mall, and it's still half a mud bowl out there.
That's what their Super League team is going to play in, right? It's that stadium.
Yeah. No, I mean it's a great stadium. Don't get me wrong there, but
everything around it.
Yeah, well, everything around it has yet to be realized, and they still need to put on the third side of that stadium. But they have lights, so
you have lights. Final. I mean, they got it last year, but yeah.
Guys are fully rested unless there've been some knocks in training. Everybody should be available.
Even Mueller.
I mean, he's been out for a month now.
Yeah.
Don't know how bad his injury was. From the sounds of it, it was kind of a little bit of a confusing one.
Oh.
Like I don't know exactly what it was, but it sounded like it could either be a very quick recovery or it'd be a very long recovery. And there wasn't really a middle ground on it. So I'm hoping for the quick recovery option, have him available. But I liked if the defense that played in Richmond is playing again this Saturday, I like it. I'm not opposed to that. Master Antonio, Milanese, Lexi, and Shaft. Shaft and Noe, I think, in my mind, outside of Rashid, who I think just perennially takes the MVP. I think those two are up there for me. Second year players who are really showing that they can do what we brought them initially on for.
Yeah, I mean, and Noe's the more traditional second year player. I mean, Shaft has been playing for a while, right? But just kind of like this would be about not even a year here, right? Because he came
Shaft
so
came
late.
in August for us.
It's like August or September, yeah.
But he has ingrained himself so well in the overall Union Omaha mindset with the fans. Like he's win, lose, draw. He is there. He's thanking the fans. He's spending time with children. Like he's the franchise player. Like he is the guy that he's what Dalton was last year or Greg was the year before. Like the guy is going to always take time, sign some autographs, spend time with the fans, no matter the result. He's going to be putting on a smile, encouraging the next generation, and that's really what this club needs. And Shaft being back and having had just a couple months to get used to the environment, I think has been a huge boon for us.
Yeah, I mean, and he's been great just playing as well too, right? Like he's looked really good.
Like he's been talking the talk and walking the walk. So yeah. I hope he stays in form. Seems like he's been staying fit. Haven't Haven't heard anything injury-wise. He's vegan, so he has superpowers. But that defensive line against Chattanooga, I think, shuts them down, considering how weak Chattanooga has been on the offense this year after losing most of their players to North Carolina.
Yeah, a few others, but North Carolina's a big one.
Yeah. It just seemed like North Carolina took all of them.
We're speaking of, they came back to beat Richmond tonight, so they are at over.
Blowing up with
the what? Sorry,
my phone's been blowing up while we've been recording this.
Oh, that might be. Yeah, it was 3-2.
That's
so North Carolina is at over 2 points a game right now. They're at 19 points out of 9 games.
That has been a success story of a relegate and rebuild.
Yeah.
Like they came in year one with a bunch of kids. Year two, they started bringing on some veteran pieces. Their academy investing has really paid off at this point.
I mean, consider their goalkeeper, right? 15-year-old.
Well,
them a few years back. Got some playing time, got more playing time. Is really improving.
Well, and he's young enough at this point that he still has a chance to be, transferred for a significant sum.
Yeah,
bringing money into the club for North Carolina. In addition to, if he continues on this track, he's potential for a men's national team keeper down the line. I think he's already
been, at the very least, he could go somewhere, probably in Europe. I could see like maybe a lower end team in the top 5 leagues at the track he's on right now, but of course that could always change.
Being scouted by like Arsenal or something last year. Yeah. And granted, that would have been for their,
second
younger
team or to loan out or something, but yeah.
Yeah, one of those big Premier League clubs that decide they want to sign everybody and then loan them
and own rights to everyone. Yeah.
But back to Chattanooga, that is a winnable game for us if our guys are going in with the right mindset. If they're able to block out the noise, I know the guys who were on the team last year hopefully feel a sense of revenge going in there
after the playoff loss. Yeah,
because they were upset because that was a tough game. The fans were nasty towards them. Like it was not a good feeling, and I hope there's that chip on the shoulder that Gary always likes to talk about. I hope that's very real for them. But we've also got to conserve. We got to do potentially some squad rotation because we turn around next Wednesday, have Greenville, who, as we've discussed, have been not great, but they're still Greenville. They still have some power pieces. Harks is still coaching them.
They have a former Owl.
They only have Boyce.
Just have Devin, yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking they had someone else.
But I guess thinking of Tormenta.
I was probably thinking Tormenta, which is essentially done to us what North Carolina did to Chattanooga. But Greenville has, I want to say they've probably had the least amount of turnover in the past 3 years. And but
I don't know. This last year is when they first started having some bigger turnover, because I was looking at some of their rosters recently, and I think they've had maybe a little bit more turnover this past year. I would say Richmond would be one of the others that hasn't had a lot. Like they've added pieces in, but they've kept a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're definitely up there, especially if you would talk about before this past year. They've definitely had a lot, but I think they've had just a little bit more shakeup now.
But they're still a very consistent side. Dom's first game against them, which
first rivalry game,
which I know the guys who've been here for a season or more know what that means to the fans, but putting the emphasis there, because we always have known that the club itself has been trying to make that Madison game the be all end all rivalry game, which some fans have bought into that narrative. It is what it is.
I mean, Greenville's one where there's a lot of buy-in from both sides. Madison is one that there's not a lot of buy-in, but there's a lot of style clash among how we play. Yeah. Right. So we've always struggled with Madison just because the styles have always clashed.
Yeah.
And even there was still a lot going on.
Madison is a tough team for us to play, but we'll get into that next week more so. But they're a tough team for us to play, and we've had a hard time breaking them down, home and away.
Yeah.
Sometimes Mother Nature's working against us. Other times it's 12 lines on a field. Some of
it again. I know we don't want to talk about it much, but I just think that it's a massive clash in styles, and one of their main tenets, at least it has been one of their main tenets, is fouling the crap out of us, and so it tends to work, at least as far as that goes.
So jumping back to the first two games in this next 10-day stretch, what rotation do you want to see? Like, what do you think a starting lineup against Chattanooga changes versus Greenville?
I mean, maybe this is just the FIFA or Football Manager player in me, but I tend to want my best players out there, or at least my first team out there, as much as possible. And to do that, I would still want to get them rest. So I would think of playing whatever I consider my first team Saturday, maybe have them as sub options on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I don't think the defense will change much. I think there is going to be maybe a little bit, especially if Mueller's healthy. I think we'll see that. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dion show up starting at right back in one of the games, and then switching out with Junior and them.
Which game do you rest Noe?
I think you rest Noe the first half of Greenville.
Yeah, I'd also agree there. I think he needs to be one of the earlier subs against Greenville.
But I also think you start Steinwasser against Greenville.
Yeah. Greenville, I think playing our taller guys will be more beneficial. Throw Joey on, Shaft on, in the middle. Guys who are fast, who can cross the ball in and get it to a tall head in the middle. Like, I think that's probably our play there. Against Chattanooga, I'm not a huge Gallardo fan, but I'd start Gallardo. He's got to work on his passing.
Yeah.
But his foot skills and his mentality at Chattanooga, I think, would be huge there. Is like, as I said, I think that's going to be a very tough mental game more than necessarily skill. You need the guys who have a little bit of an attitude, have something to prove, and put them in there. For forwards, I think you've got to rest Connor one of these games.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would put Connor. I don't think you don't have him on the bench, is what I would say.
No, he's got to be on the bench. But I think if you're going to rest Connor in a game, you're going to rest him against Chattanooga.
I mean, I would love to see Giovanni play against Chattanooga as well, considering his history against Chattanooga.
Yes.
So wouldn't be a bad spot there.
And we've seen a couple times this season where we've had both Giovanni and JP out there at the same time. Mm-hmm. More often than not, it has been a like for like
game.
But I'd like to see what they can do over the course of it, because both of them can be just as attacking as they can defensive midfielders.
Mm-hmm.
Like that gives you an extra power option. Both of them have long balls, although JP's got to prove it a little bit more. But like Giovanni's going to draw more back, just knowing how he can score from distance.
Yeah,
that he's going
to. Well, as long as they've done their research, which like you would hope Chattanooga would, but it is a different coaching staff there. It's a lot of different players, and he hasn't been playing much this year.
Yeah.
So if he does come in as a game, you might not be as ready because you haven't looked up as much film on him.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if they do make that adjustment, because if they don't, he's going to hit it. He's going to try it, right?
And ultimately, his range shots are accurate, so we might actually have a shot on target.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the offensive is going to be entirely who's ready to play 180 minutes in 10 days, 7 days. Like,
I don't know if there is anyone. Like that's why I'm wondering if you're gonna look more for like 150 minutes out of a lot of people.
We're gonna see Dion out there at some point. We're gonna see a fair bit of Gilles, I think.
Yeah. I guess my question would be, do we see anyone who we haven't seen yet this year during this stretch?
Well, Ed's been busy assistant coaching to a state championship.
State champion now, yeah.
But I don't necessarily think we see him, but Yoskar would be a good option off the bench. He's fast.
Yoskar and Anderson, Sebastian, like.
Yeah. Like,
I don't know.
Put some of the young guys out, but ultimately I think they'd have to be late game subs just to rest legs. Mm-hmm. And I think we see them, if we see them at all, we see them Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Score predictions?
Oh boy. I'm going to say, and be a little bit optimistic, and say 1-0 over Chat.
Yeah.
And then say a 1-1 draw with Greenville, even though I'd like it to be a win. I feel like we're going to be looking a bit ahead to Madison. I feel like it's that midweek game where we might shift a bit more. So I think a 1-1 is probably what I'm thinking.
I don't disagree with you, but I think it's going to be 3-0 for both. No, Chattanooga, I see Chattanooga more as the draw potential.
Oh, okay.
Greenville.
Just because it's away.
Just because it's away, that it's a Saturday night before the weather gets super brutal down there. End of school, you still have teams playing, so youth teams be out there. Like it's going to be loud. Wednesday, it's going to be diehard UO fans.
Yeah. Which honestly, no offense to people who come out casually, but some of those games where it's just been diehard UO fans, it's louder than other games, as we've seen on some past Wednesdays.
Is this Wednesday going to be one of the Special Olympics games, the Unity games?
No, not Greenville.
Oh no, sorry, that's the following Saturday against
with Madison. I don't know if that's one of the ones with Madison or not. I guess it would have to be if we're playing a home and home. It would have to be.
If we're going a home and home, then that would have to be.
So if that's the case, we should make sure that we talk with the team about that, because we want to promote that as much as possible. So
definitely,
because I know because it's them and NOCO this year, right? Those are the two that we're doing that with.
Or is it Colorado Springs? Because they're doing the Unity thing for the USL celebration in Colorado Springs, and I want to say there's 2 championship sides that have Unity teams, and is it 2 or 3? I can't remember if NOCO has one or not, but there's going to be.
I thought I remembered something about a NOCO thing, but I don't remember what.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm kind of spacing on which teams had that, but those games were so much fun last year.
Oh yeah, I mean the first one, watching through a really shitty recording with Yoskar and Peter trying to commentate, and then that second one was just awesome. Like there was some incredibly talented people playing in that game. It was great.
They're really probably more fun than the actual game, and especially
the
way the players get into them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shivani was picking up a clipboard and coaching for both of them. Like it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun.
So if that is happening next Saturday night, we'll try and let people know. But
we'll put on
definitely will endorse that experience, because that was a great experience.
So we do, before we wind this out, we do have a few events coming up other than the game next Wednesday. There is Football for the World's soccer league, which is an under 10 after school program league that they've been running this year. They're doing a celebration at North Star Academy in near Benson, Friday the 19th from 5:30 to 8. Food trucks, DJ, kids playing some awesome soccer. Get out there, support them. These kids they just thrive on the cheering. So if you can get out there, support them, do it. It's going to be a great time. Saturday with the games, there's the planned watch parties. I believe Parliament is back at Cross Drain for this one. BHC is at St. Andrews. If there's a bar that has ESPN Plus, you can ask them to put it on. I think there's a few others around, but that's going to be a heck of a game to watch. Try and watch it with people, because it's always more fun that way. And then obviously the home game against Greenville. And I keep thinking we're a week ahead. But the team has been putting out, they've been offering youth clinics out there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of things the team's doing, so make sure you're following them on socials. They're putting out it's usually more visible on their Instagram or Twitter than on their Facebook. So if you can follow them on either one of those. But a lot of stuff going on, a lot of reasons to go support local soccer. Get out there, have some fun, find some friends, make them have fun, or at least make them watch while you have fun. Like, do what you got to do.
It's it's a fun thing to get together and go out, have a night out to do stuff. So
I mean, it's definitely it's good to find something positive to do in Nebraska right now. So get out there and do it. I think that about covers what we had planned. Is there? Do you have a preview on your next data dives coming?
We will see. It's end of semester, so it's a bit busy. There's no break before our spring and summer semesters this year, so we go right from one to the other.
Oh, fun.
So we'll see. I would think maybe end of May is when we're looking at.
So keep an eye out there. Keep an eye on the blog. We do have a fair number of writers other than just Kyle out there putting out some quality content. So make sure you're tuning in for that.
Previews of every game, recaps, like all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely good stuff. You can find that at wgahmedia.com. And all right, Kyle, I think we're at that time for one final question. Who gives a hoot? We do.
We do.